Yo, what's up, folks? It's your boy Sports PSP. Welcome to Commanders Podcast. It's a podcast there we talk about things regarding the Washington Commanders. Just to give you some context, some perspective about myself, Sports PSP. You can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all my social media platforms that I am on. And anyone who knows me knows very well I am a big supporter and fan of the Washington Commanders. Been a fan since probably around the age of 13 or 14, early days as a teenager. And one of the reasons why I became a huge fan of the Commanders was because of, God rest his soul, the late great Sean Taylor. He was a great football player for the Commanders, still revered to this day. You know, he was on his way to having what I believe a Hall of Fame career. And unfortunately, his life was cut short at the age of 24. But he was one of the reasons why I became a Washington Commanders fan, because I just miss, the intensity, the hard hitting, the way he played football. He was fun to watch. Love watching him play. It's hard to be a Washington Commanders fan, to be honest with you folks, because, as a fan, we really haven't had any hope. Under Dan Snyder, the owner, who I think is not only the worst owner in the NFL, although some people could make an argument for Jimmy Haslam or whoever that you can think of in the NFL, but I think he's the worst owner in sports. There's him, there's Jim Dolan of the New York Knicks, Jimmy Haslam of the Cleveland Browns, and Daniel Snyder's in that conversation. He has to be in that conversation. It was tough for us in Washington in 2022, because we were close enough to make the playoffs. We were 8-1. All we had to do was just win a couple of games and make the playoffs. And the second to last game against the Cleveland Browns, it was a home game. We lost that one 24-10. Carson Wentz was terrible that game, 16-28, 143 yards, 3 interceptions. With that loss, following as well as the Green Bay Packers beating the Minnesota Vikings, Washington was out of playoff contention. And I was pissed. I was pissed because Ron Rivera went with Carson Wentz at quarterback. And I've been a huge critic of Carson Wentz, folks. I've been a huge critic of Carson Wentz because from the moment Washington acquired him in the trade, I didn't want him. It was a terrible idea because if it didn't work out for him in Indianapolis, why the hell am I supposed to believe it's going to work out for him in Washington? He had every chance to succeed in Indianapolis. Frank Reich was the former head coach, who was his former offensive coordinator during his time in Philadelphia. The offensive line led by Quentin Nelson. Indy was in their good organization, good management. Chris Ballard, the GM. They had pieces. And it was everything built for Carson Wentz to succeed and flourish. And unfortunately, he just couldn't get the job done. And he couldn't get the job done in Washington. He had 11 touchdown passes to only 9 interceptions. He was 2-5 as a starter. And he was just terrible. So after the season, Washington released him. And rightfully so. So because of Washington releasing him, we saved up $26 million in cap space. So we did something there. And the moment when we let go of Carson Wentz, I was happy. Because gone. Goodbye. Finito. Didn't want him in the first place. Never wanted Carson Wentz. It was time to move on. So we saved up $26 million. We franchise tagged Darren Payne. Now we got to figure out a way on how to give him a contract because we don't want to lose him for nothing. Darren Payne is coming off a Pro Bowl season. He played well, exceptionally well for the Commanders last season. He had, let me just read you some of his numbers. Had 11.5 sacks, which was a career high for him. Sorry if I'm feeling a little bit underneath the weather, folks. I'm still dealing with allergies, not feeling well. But Darren Payne played well. And we've got some really nice pieces with the team defensively. I mean, if you look at our defense last year, we were top 7 in defense. We had the number 4th passing defense in the NFL, and we were 11th in rushing. So we have a good enough defense to compete. But the problem was our offense. We didn't do a good job of protecting our quarterback. We were 24th in team offense, and we were 21st in passing offense. But we were also 12th in rushing, so not that bad. But team offense, In passing offense, 21st in passing offense, So 2023, I look at it as the year of hope. Carson Wentz is gone. I don't have to worry about him anymore. I finally got Sam Howell or whoever it is at quarterback. They are going to be better than Carson Wentz. Although they ain't much to brag about, but still, it's something. I think Sam Howell should be the week 1 starter. Either him or Taylor Heineke. Who knows? But I think Sam Howell should be the starter. And I think Sam Howell will succeed. Not just because of his talent. You know, I actually liked him coming out of North Carolina. 6'1", 220. Strong enough arm. Can throw the deep ball. Really nice deep ball. You know, Sam Howell has some physical tools. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. I'd never say that. But I do think he's got some tools nonetheless. I think he'll be solid in the NFL. And I think he will succeed because he has some nice pieces to work with in Washington. I mean, with Terry McLaurin, you also have Jahan Dotson. You also have Curtis Samuel, the deep threat. And now you got Eric Bieniemy as your offensive coordinator. So Eric Bieniemy is going to be calling the plays. Now, some people are a little leery, not sure on Eric Bieniemy, because people felt like, was it really him calling the plays in Kansas City while he was there under Andy Reid? Or was it really Andy Reid? And it does help that you have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and at one point Tyreek Hill, and all the weapons that you had during your time in Kansas City. Imagine how you're going to be calling the plays in Washington. But I think he'll be fine in Washington. Because Eric Bieniemy is going to debunk the narrative that he can't call plays. That he can't be a people person. Another reason why people weren't so sure about Eric Bieniemy is because of interviewing skills. It's been reported that he's not the best when it comes to interviewing skills or people skills. Eric Bieniemy, I think, will be just fine. Because Ron Rivera, the organization, they're going to allow Eric Bieniemy to run the offense however he wants to see fit. I think he's going to do a good job as far as utilizing Sam Howell. And I think he's going to put Sam Howell or whoever at quarterback in a position to succeed. That's what I think. And he has some weapons to work with. I also think Bobby Ingram, who's now the Commanders' wide receivers coach, and that was a big plus because he was the wide receivers coach for the Baltimore Ravens, and he was also the tight ends coach for the Baltimore Ravens. So when I look at that, that is a very nice move because it's going to improve our tight ends. It's going to help us improve the wide receivers as well, and especially with the tight ends. I mean, look at what Bobby Ingram did throughout his time in Baltimore through 2014, 2021 with Mark Andrews. You know, Mark Andrews from the Baltimore Ravens has become a very, very big target and one of the best tight ends in the NFL and one of Lamar Jackson's favorite weapons to throw to. I mean, if you look at his time in Baltimore, Mark Andrews has made 3 Pro Bowls and a first-team All-Pro. Not taking anything away from what Mark Ingram has accomplished, but Bobby Ingram was there as the wide receivers and the tight ends coach during his time. So I think that was a big. So I think with Bobby Ingram, he's going to help us out because we all know we need help at the tight end position. Logan Thomas is coming off a torn ACL. Some of the tight ends that we have in Cole Turner, Marnie Rogers, and Curtis Hodges, I think Bobby Ingram is going to help them succeed and flourish. I'm not going to say they're going to end up becoming the next Mark Andrews, but there's nowhere to go but up, of course. So we have to improve offensively. And we have the running backs in Robinson, Bijan Robinson, and also in Antonio Gibson. So we have the talent. We have some talent offensively. The issues that we need to address is the offensive line. Now, Washington does have the 16th overall pick in the draft. Only what are they going to do with the 16th overall pick? Are they going to actually go draft an offensive lineman? Or are they going to go with defense? Some people may... I think they should pick whoever's available. If they want to go with offensive linemen, that's fine because look at Trey Turner. Trey Turner is probably going to leave Washington because he's entering free agency. And we're probably not going to give him a big contract. He probably wants to get a big contract somewhere else, and I understand that. Andrew Norwell, last year, he started 16 games for us at left guard. Has one more year left in his contract in Washington. But if the Commanders decide to cut him, they could save up $2.28 million in cap space. So you never know. Now, Washington, like I said, they have the 16th overall pick. I wouldn't mind them getting a cornerback, a DB. Perhaps Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois. You know, I wouldn't mind having him at all at cornerback. You know, he's a bit undersized, but he can definitely play. He can definitely provide some impact. He is a hard hitter. You know, even though 5'11", 6 feet, he plays a lot stronger. And he plays a lot more physical than you actually give him credit for. And he brings that tenacity, that energy, that swag. And I think he would be great for Ron Rivera and that defense. So if you want to go into the direction as far as with defense, as far as with the 16th overall pick, hey, that's fine. Because after all, defense is Ron Rivera's signature. So you just got to go with the best player available. Either you want to go with a DB or offensive lineman. That's what you have to do with the first round pick. And then maybe in the later rounds, you can use that and you can focus on other needs. If they want to go with Sam Howell at quarterback, that's fine. Or if Taylor Heinicke is available. And if they want to go at quarterback, as crazy as this sounds to some people, I'm going to say it. I wouldn't mind Washington drafting, whether in the 5th or 6th round, I don't know. I wouldn't mind them drafting Stetson Bennett. Because I think Stetson Bennett, even though he's undersized, 5'10", 5'11", buck 95, Stetson Bennett can be a competent quarterback in the NFL. I'm not going to say he's going to be the next Tom Brady or anything like that. I ain't trying to go there. But if you're unsure with Sam Howell, and if you feel like you want to add some more depth to the quarterback position, I wouldn't mind Stetson Bennett and putting him up with those pieces. But again, that's just me. I wouldn't mind Stetson Bennett in that conversation. I wouldn't mind that at all. But I think back to Washington, hope in 2023, I think we're going to get better. And I actually do see us competing for a playoff spot. I do think Eric Bieniemy, now that he will call the plays on offense, I think he's going to end this narrative that he can't call the plays. And if he does a good or an exceptional job, it's going to elevate his chances as far as getting a head coaching job. And I think if he does a good job cultivating relationship with the players and the organization, I think he'll be just fine. I think Sam Howell or whoever at quarterback, I think they will be fine because of Eric Bieniemy. And what I love about Eric Bieniemy that he can help for Ron Rivera is clock management, which is the same thing he worked with clock management with Andy Reid. Remember, Ron Rivera's clock management was bad. And we all know Andy Reid throughout his time, clock management has been his Achilles heel. So we got to give credit to Eric Bieniemy where it's due as far as what he's done with clock management. And I think he will handle that. I also think with Bobby Ingram as the wide receivers coach and, having some experience as a tight ends coach going back to Baltimore. I mean, again, he did work with Mark Andrews. Again, I'm not saying that the current tight ends that we have, like Cole Turner or Monty Rogers or Curtis Hodges or Logan Thomas, they're going to end up being Mark Andrews. However, they have to be better. There's nowhere to go but up if you're Washington. There's nowhere to go but up. Offensively, there's nowhere to go but up. So if our offense improves and if our defense can still stay where it's at, if we were a top 7 defense, if we can still stay a top 7 defense, and if we can just, most importantly, improve the O-line and have better quarterback play, because it all comes down to a quarterback division. Like right now, Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in that division in the NFC East because of what he did with the Eagles, taking them to the Super Bowl. Dak, even though he's a roller coaster, he's the second best quarterback in that division. And then you look at Daniel Jones, who's third. Sam Howell's only fourth because he hasn't had that much body of work. Either Sam Howell, Taylor Heineke, or who knows. But if it can improve the quarterback play and keep the defense where it's at, we actually have a chance. Washington has a chance of winning the division. Because I don't see the Eagles going back to the Super Bowl again in 2023. There's nowhere to go but down. Dak has proven he's been a roller coaster. And the Giants, they gave Daniel Jones his money. 4 years, $160 million, $82 million guaranteed, $35 million in incentives. Daniel Jones is under a lot of pressure. Because if he doesn't live up to his contract, then the Giants, they're going to look at it and say, hey, we made a huge mistake. Maybe they should have picked up his 5th-year option. But either way, I think Washington will be just fine because I think Eric Bieniemy will be there. He will handle much of the responsibility on offense. Ron Rivera will take care of the defense. Again, with the draft pick, I do think we should go with offensive line. But if you want to look at cornerback and if you want to look at Devin Witherspoon from Illinois, I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that would be a very solid, very nice move for Washington to have to put him up with that defense. So I wouldn't mind that. Now Washington, we did sign the offensive tackle Drew Himmelman. Let me read you an article here from the USA Today Sports, the Commanders Wire, from Brian Manning. The Washington Commanders added to the offensive line Friday by signing offensive tackle Drew Himmelman. If the name sounds somewhat familiar to you, it's because the Commanders initially claimed Himmelman off waivers last May. However, he failed his physical and Washington released him. 2-year starter at left tackle for Illinois State. Himmelman was undrafted in the 2021 NFL Draft. He was named an FCS first-team All-American in 2019. He signed as an undrafted free agent with the Denver Broncos, and so far the 6'9" Himmelman still hasn't played an NFL game. So I wanted to give an update on that. I don't know if Drew Himmelman is going to stick around with the Washington Commanders, but clearly we need some depth. I'm not saying he's going to help us out with the offense, but we need some depth with the offensive line. But I think we will be just fine in Washington. It has to go nowhere but up. This is the year of hope. Our offense has to improve. And if it doesn't improve, then I don't know what to say. And Ron Rivera, even though he signed a 5-year contract, if he does not have a good season this year, or hell, if they struggle just to get a top pick in the draft, it wouldn't surprise me if he would be fired. But I'm not going to see that. I think Ron Rivera has to work on the clock management issues. That's why he's got Eric Bieniemy there. Our offense has to improve. It's nowhere but up. Our defense is what it is. So I expect Washington in the year of 2023 of hope. Of hope for us to get better and to win the division. Those are my thoughts. It's your boy Sports PSP. I'll try to come up with some more content. What are your thoughts about Washington in the hope of 2023? Which player that I've mentioned or haven't mentioned will make a big improvement in 2023? How much pressure is going to be on the line with Ron Rivera? How much pressure is going to be on Eric Bieniemy? And so much more. And how much pressure is going to be on Sam Howell or whoever's going to be starting at quarterback. Other than that, your boy Sports PSP. Hope you're enjoying the rest of your day.